Uh,
Hi, my name is Mark Monlux, and I'm hosting yet another episode of Epic Sketch Time. Epic Sketch Time is held every Monday Pacific Time at 4:30 p.m. If you'd like to join us, please add yourself by going to the link in the doobly-doo down below. I'm a freelancer out of Tacoma, Washington. I like to draw cartoon reviews of movies. I've got a couple books out underneath the pseudonym of the Comic Critic. And you can find links to my books and other merchandise also in the link below. Let me introduce, well, actually, you guys introduce yourselves by order of appearance.
Hi, I'm Bill Morse. I'm a freelance illustrator and cartoonist from Seattle, Washington, and I do a webcomic called Rhapsodies. I also run a group called Cartoonist Northwest, so if anybody wants to meet and talk shop with cool cartoonists, you can definitely check us out on Facebook, because I just opened up a group there for it.
Bill, tell everyone what town that is.
Town?
Yes, where's Cartoonist Northwest located?
It's officially we're based in Seattle, obviously, but it represents all of the Northwest cartoonists, which includes Washington, Oregon, British Columbia, Montana, and the very northernmost part of California, at least on paper, but mostly it's Seattle, Puget Sound.
And hey, everybody. My name is Ian Castruita. I can be found at unfedartist.com. And for all my social media, just @unfedart, if it's Instagram or Twitter or I think even Facebook. I draw a comic called Unfed Artist, same name as my company. And I'm an illustrator, graphic designer, and cartoonist working out of Tempe, Arizona.
I've been having a great time with my Instagram lately. If you go to Mark Monlux, that's MERKMONLUX, or whatever, my name's spelled correctly up here by my icon, you'll see I do sketch notes of various webinars and luncheons that I attend. They're little crib sheets. And they've been driving a lot of traffic on my Instagram. I'm very pleased about that.
Nice. I've been trying to think of good new things to do ever since my doing the taking the bait on one of Instagram's free marketing offers was kind of ultimately empty calories.
What was it, like an advertisement?
No. Bill, an advertisement?
Yeah, the business part, the business side of Instagram occasionally will tell you if you've gotten a certain level of likes on something, the offer of $30 worth of promotion on that.
So what did you do? Did you make
let me see if I can find an example here. They haven't. So if they'll say if if they'll tell every now and again they'll tell you that a post is doing X% better than everything else, and it offers and it suggests that you can promote it to reach a wider audience. Obviously, they want you to pay for it, but every now and again they give you they offer you a $30 coupon. I'm not sure just how well that works. Maybe because I was sort of having trouble with it the first time that I tried something else, so that used another image, which of images I'm going to use as my promotion. That was probably not my best choice. It was one of my gorilla sketches, and it was a day where the gorillas were accurate, and let's just say gesture drawings of gorillas did not completely show my ability as a illustrator.
So what you did, I think, is called boosting a post, right? Like you have a post and you kind of like push it out to more people by paying for that, right?
So anyway, I'll start here.
Bill, can you not hear Ian talking?
I'm afraid I can't. I wonder if I should try shutting off and opening up again.
Well, you can always post in the chat room.
Yes, you get here. Can Ian hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Ian can hear you, Bill.
Okay. I wonder if it is
Ian.
Mark,
as I said, no, I cannot. That's why I asked in a general way.
The special edition of Epic Sketch
Here,
Time.
I'll try and see if the turn on and again off again thing works. Be right back.
Well, we had this problem last week, and he couldn't hear Locke as well. So it was a fairly quiet bit of Epic Sketch Time because Bill thought I wasn't saying anything because I was letting Locke talk. And I just wasn't saying anything because no one else was talking, and Bill was being quiet for a change.
I'm being very careful about talking because I don't want to accidentally talk over anybody I'm not can't hear.
Did you leave already, Bill, and come back?
Yes. And
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. Good. That's a relief.
Got the whole Verizon dude's spiel going on. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's between the Horizon commercial and the running gag in the It crowd. I've been getting.
Oh, I love the It crowd. I started watching that and I kind of lost track, but I need to jump back in.
I'm always embarrassed when I have to go to tech support, and the first thing I'm saying, at first I was almost worried that I should try turning it on again. The first question I want to ask is did I try turning it on again, off again? And yes, I did. And the tech support guy laughs and says, "Yeah, I love that show."
Yeah. It's one of those British comedies that I almost wish got taken up by the U.S. like The Office and all that stuff. Well, anyway, I was asking you about your Instagram thing. So that's called boosting a post, right?
I believe so. As I said, I've tried it only once, and my biggest problem with it is, yeah, I got tons of likes from it, but it was kind of like what I choose to refer to as empty carbs, if that makes any sense. I got lots of likes, but no joiners.
So I mean, it kind of makes me think about strategies for those types of things. Like, I mean, essentially you're given a coupon for $30, but how can you make that $30 work better for you? I mean,
exactly, because I worry that I wasted it because I was I was trying to use it on one of the Rhapsody's plugs, and which it didn't accept. And the reason I think it didn't accept is I've noticed on occasion that Facebook has issues with images that have text on it. I mean,
really?
Yeah. For example, I did a piece of promotional work for the guild and for their last membership drive, and Facebook didn't allow it because I had the words. The image had a flag here.
Well, did you switch the text over into a graphic rather than just a?
This was blatantly a graphic. Yeah, I think this was more of a policy issue than a technical issue.
So does that mean like comics are flagged because they have lettering, or?
I have a lot of comics that have lettering.
I think it's more of a case of comics that are being used as a marketing issue. I mean, all I'm saying is that I was submitted this thing for the guild, and then I got a call later on saying, sorry, we weren't able to use it. And which was a shame because everybody liked it. Yeah,
that's huge, because I mean, part of my business strategy is making comics for businesses, and if they have social media accounts, presumably the power of a comic
would mention something about it in its user agreement.
Yeah, I mean, make no mistake, to follow up on this, I sincerely hope that I'm misunderstanding what I was told, but that's what seemed to have been the case.
Yeah, I know this definitely warrants further investigation, because I mean, for me, that would mean that, like, I would have to, if I made comics for social media purposes for like a business, like I'd have to tell them, by the way, you can't pay to boost this. Like, it just has to organically work, and which is, you know, that could be a tough sell. So that's good to know.
I just can't imagine that they would do that, because they want people to sell advertising. Advertising has words in it.
Yes.
So how to me, something's not right with that.
No, I mean, trust me. I hope I am I hope I'm completely misunderstanding what the reasons that
that particular ad didn't go through.
Yeah, and it's a shame, because I was quite pleased with it.
So that was one of those Graphic Artists Guild cartoons about like copyright and stuff.
Exactly. I mean,
yeah.
and that's also one that now that you mention it, that does feel a little strange, because those cartoons had dialogue in them, and obviously they didn't have the problem. But
maybe you should try posting it and boosting it yourself.
Maybe, because it's general. And here it is. But essentially, anyway, this is the graphic I'm talking about, and apparently the big letters on the flag were what they were having trouble with.
Wow. Yeah, I need to know more about this. I
think I should ask Paula and Dawn about this on Thursday, because
well, I'd call up Facebook and say, hey, you know, we're thinking about telling our people who watch us on Epic Sketch Time about, you know, boosting posts on Instagram and Facebook. You know, are there rules around this thing? I mean, that it's their business. You know, they probably want to make sure people understand it. So
yeah, because what was annoyed the heck out of me was I was trying to boost the storyline, the graphic for my current storyline, and that only had and so that was a Instagram post, that the boosted Instagram post that had the Rhapsody's URL on it, and I hope I'm misunderstanding it, because, as I said, that would be pretty stupid.
You know, as far as boosting posts go, like I've always kind of like I get those offers on Facebook, and I've always said, well, you know, I'm going to wait until I have something that I really want to make sure gets out there. Like for example, I just started a Patreon for my comic, and you know, I kind of want to build content and everything. But if I were to like maybe launch a Kickstarter or something, you know, right, that would be a boosted post. But I think I mean, kind of going back to what I was saying before, I mean, like even Mark, I mean, for your sketch notes and stuff, like if a business wanted to promote their business using those or something like that.
I'm doing, one of the things I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be drawing a sketch note for a business that's going to be going on Instagram.
Yeah, because essentially this is the one that I wanted to post on my Instagram, the Instagram promotion, and it didn't accept it.
Yeah. And so for Mark, I mean, you need to kind of like find out if the customer wants to boost it, and if so, you know, this kind of raises a question: can they? So
well, it's something I'm sure I'll ask the customer about that after I've delivered what we've agreed to so far.
Yeah, yeah. No, I know where you're coming from on that.
Yeah. So anyhow, so I've been putting off doing, but on a more interesting, a less depressing subject, I've been putting off starting up a Patreon account myself. So I'd be interested in hearing your experience on that, Ian.
So my impetus is purely financial. Patreon is changing their fee structure, and so if you want to get grandfathered in,
right,
on the lower fee, You need to create a page right now.
Okay.
And I mean, full disclosure, I have 0 patrons right now, but I'm generating content for it. Like, I mean, I've always tried to, like, you know, make sure things are nice and pretty and polished and ready to go. I just had to pull the trigger. And
I have sort of like a really inactive URL. Does it have to be an active URL for you have to for it to be working, or?
Are we talking about Patreon?
Yes.
So you're saying you have a Patreon page?
No, I said if I had a Patreon page, would it have to link to an active URL?
Oh, I get you. So I think Patreon, when you set it up, it does ask you for, like, you know, background stuff and things like that to kind of verify you. But the content you create, it can just live on Patreon. And like, for my example, like, I actually post comics for my backers on Patreon like a week ahead of the post on my website. And before I post it on social media, like, that's the incentive, right? Like, if you're giving me $5 a month, you get to see these comics before anybody else. So logistically, if you have, like, a WordPress website, you can put a plugin in that will connect to Patreon, so your Patreon subscribers can log into your website and see that content as part of their perk. But I looked at it, and I didn't think that it was going to work for my particular setup of WordPress. And it's just, I mean, Patreon is just kind of another place to post, just like Instagram and Facebook. I mean, one of the people I follow, Brad Geiger, he posts on Webtoons a lot, and you know, I'm starting to look at that too. I don't want to start, like, getting really spread out and, like, posting everywhere and anywhere I can. Like, I really want to be judicious about how I do this, but I think Patreon is justified, especially if somebody's going to be paying you money just to make sure that you know, they're supporting your comics. You should post directly on Patreon so they can do that, unless you have it figured out with that WordPress plugin. And
yeah, because that's one thing I've been one of the excuses I keep making is I'm always a little cagey about posting stuff in on other formats. So that's one of the other reasons that I only post half of my strip on my morning Instagram plug of my strip, because I want them to go to the strip.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would ask you what your financial model is. I mean, are you running advertising on your own webpage? Like, is it important for people to look at your strip on your website? Like, why is that? You know, and if it's more important for you just to get exposure and for people to read your strip and share it and everything,
right?
Then, you know, yeah, you know, you share it on Facebook, you share it on Instagram. I mean, my concern was copyright, right? Like, I don't want people to steal my stuff, you know, market as their own and all that. And it's really tough as web cartoonists, because, you know, we usually post our strips as soon as they're done.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm trying to take advantage of, like, services like Binded, which supposedly make it easier to. Oop, sorry about that. Random phone call. Yeah, supposedly make it easier to register copyright, but even Binded right now, like, I could load an image onto it, and it's connected to, like, their blockchain that they have, but they stopped offering Library of Congress registration, which kind of worries me. So hopefully they get that back up and running. So, can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
I can hear you.
Oh, okay.
I was hearing a few other weird noises besides your phone. Was that a printer I thought I heard?
Yeah, you know, it's my phone, and it's also my I have Project Fi, so I can take phone calls through Gmail. So I was getting a ring on Gmail and on my phone. so I'm just anyway, I swear nobody ever calls me except when I'm doing something. Just like I live in darkness otherwise, but if the second I have a meeting or something, it's just like knocks on the door and everything else.
Yeah, because I mean, the other thing I've been sort of thinking is, while obviously the main thing I'm plugging is my comic strip Rhapsodies, I have 2 side projects that I'm making very good progress on. So I was going in with the assumption that I'd be going more general with Bill Morse's creating cartoons and illustrations rather than creating rhapsodies.
You know, I think it might be wise, depending on your bandwidth, Bill, to just have a Patreon committed to a single aspect, right? Like if you're like, you know, the wide world of Bill and, you know, everything's on there. I mean, it's too much. It's not focused enough for people. You know, somebody might just be interested in your comic rhapsodies, but they don't really care about illustrations and stuff. And so as far as like giving them value, you know, that they might feel, you know, like, well, I don't really want to spend my $1 a month or my $5 a month, whatever, on this random illustration. I kind of want to see what happens next in rhapsodies.
Right.
But that's not to stop you from creating a separate page for, you know, Bill's illustrations. So I mean, for you, if I was to give the random advice from a person who barely knows what the hell they're doing, I'd say just create a rhapsodies page. Nothing to stop you from changing it, obviously. Like, I mean, if you retire rhapsodies or whatever,
right.
Just the thing right now is like any new page you create later on down the road for other projects, it's going to have a different fee structure attached to it. So you're going to be making less money from your patrons. So I mean, for you, I think rhapsodies has been your baby for a while. You kind of got your flow going. You've been doing it for a long time. Yeah. Create a rhapsodies Patreon. I mean, don't try to overthink it too much. Because ultimately that's what I'm doing, right? And again, I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. Grain of salt, grain of salt.
Yeah, because sort of, I appreciate listening to people's experience, because I'm the first one to admit I have a bad tendency of overthinking these things, and I was sort of wasting who knows how many times sort of trying to figure out what rewards to offer, while at the same time that you can add more as things go on, right?
Yeah. You could change your reward structure. I think the only thing you can't change, from my experience setting it up, is like there's a payment process where they can pay and they're a member and they have access to all their free all the content that comes with membership, but they're billed at the beginning of every month. So like, say it's today, I log into my site and I have that set up. Right. I could say, you know what, screw Ian. I canceled my membership and I still saw all that content that I said I was going to pay for before I actually get billed for it. What I did was I said, no, if you're going to be a member, you're paying from day one. And if you want to cancel later, that's fine. But you've already paid me for this month's content and all the previous content that you have access to by being a member. So I think that's the only thing you can't change. Once you make that decision, you're not allowed to go back and say, oh, you know what, it's fine if people show up and cancel before they're billed, which is personally just bad business, in my opinion. I don't know why somebody would want to do that.
Now, let me interject here that Chris Baldwin, who does Space Trawler, which is a fantastic webcomic.
Yeah, it's pretty well-known webcomic.
I'm a patron of his, and what he does is you get to see sorry, while I was talking, I realized I was messing up on what I was drawing. What you get to see on his is you get to see his comic at least a day before it's posted. He also does little interim comics that no one else sees but the Patreon people. They might be in the final printed publication, but they're a little bit more fast and loose than his other stuff. And he also does a weekly bio comic that's about 8.5 by 11. And that's actually quite fun, reading his bio comic. So when you did use the word random illustrations, but I think if you have a set pattern of what the people that are going to be delivered forward, like if Bill says, oh, and I will be posting, you will see all of my challenge illustrations a day before I post them. Or maybe he does challenge illustrations and the only place that you can see them is there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, ultimately, it's flexible, Bill. So I mean, if you just get started and say, I just want to be supported by making Rhapsodies, and in return, like on tier 1, you'll get access to the comics a week before or something like that.
Right.
It's not like you have to go confess your sins for that. Just do it. If it doesn't work, then you can adjust later on. But if you're like, what, I want to offer more value, and for $5 a month, those people will also get access to my illustrations or something like that. You could do it that way, or like I've seen other people do. They create a completely different Patreon page where, like, they had one podcast that was about a specific topic, but they also have a different podcast about another topic. And so instead of just making one page for both podcasts, each podcast has its own Patreon page. So it's kind of up to you to determine the value that you're trying to sell and how to package it.
I'm kind of curious, Ian.
Yeah.
Patreon, can you create a reward level structure?
Yes.
Oh, definitely. That's the whole point of it.
Okay, so you can say, hey, at this level, you get this, just the comics. But at this level, you also get my weekly comics, or you get my additional illustrations that I draw.
Yep. Yeah, that's absolutely what you can do.
Now, I know that the way that Chris Baldwin has his set up is he, for anyone at the lower tier can see anything. It's when it comes to the merchandise, he does physical things for the people that are at the larger scale.
Yeah, for example, one that I've been seriously considering is for whatever reasonable sum, I put a person in Cameo, and for a larger amount, that Cameo gets dialogue. And as far as I'm concerned, that's a win-win situation, because I like populating my backgrounds, and for people to pay me for the privilege of using their likeness.
Yeah, that sounds fine to me. I mean, the other thing too is this. I don't want to dirty it, because I think ultimately this is like a really great thing, right? Like, you're working on something you love doing, and people are paying you to support you, but you kind of have to look at it as a business still. So say you do that Patreon tier, and just nobody buys it ever, right? It's just like, okay, it didn't work. So, I mean, you try out new things, you find things that people are interested in paying money for. Mm-hmm. And as long as it's something like what you just said, where you're like, oh yeah, I'd love to do this, and maybe people would actually want to pay me money for it too. Why not try to find out the win-win? But you're not going to know until you try.
Right. Yeah, because I figure it beats me throwing in movie cameos, which I frequently have mixed feelings about. It's kind of fair use, but at the same time, you don't want to tempt fate.
So the project that I'm working on today is, I've done a lot of sketch notes, and I posted them up. One of the people saw one of my sketch notes and said, hey, I have this flow chart. I would love to have it done in this style. Okay, great. So, like anything, I did a preliminary comp using real text so that I could figure out spacing and wording and editing, rather than, going in and hand drawing everything and then come back and say, oh no, this is, I need to change this. I need to change this. We need to move this around, move that around. It's a lot easier to do it at a simpler level. But hey, as you can see here, the corrections, which are in blue, this client's going to be relatively easy to work with. I'm pretty happy about this.
Cool.
So was that one of the clients that found you on Instagram?
Yep, this is a client that found me on Instagram.
Wow.
Very cool.
And they specifically saw one of my sketch notes and said, I saw this. It was through, I'm trying to remember, it was through one of my chamber events. I think it was through one of the chamber events. And I said, hey, would you be open to this idea? And I said, absolutely. That's exactly what I like to do.
5 o'clock.
So I was watching a rerun of one of the guild webinars, and you had put up a link to your sketch notes Flickr page. Do you find a value in putting it on Flickr?
I put my sketch notes up on Flickr as a way of making sure that I never lose them.
Oh.
Flickr is basically my online photo album. It's for $24 a year. I can post unlimited content in unlimited resolution for the most part. And that's so. Should my house burn down or my computer? Well, my brother had all of his photos of his family on his computer. His computer crashed, and he lost 2 years worth of memories. They were just gone because everything was a digital photograph. So now he's got his stuff backed up onto the cloud. But before there was, a lot of clouds, there was Flickr. And so I figured, hey, for $24 a month, I'm just going to post all my photos there. And and I use tags to find things. And I found that, just posting them up, I'm not terribly worried about people stealing things off because Flickr has copyright notices on theirs. And their attitude is very clear. You can mark things to be for sale or as clip art or Creative Commons. And so far, I've had nothing but respect. So I'm a big advocate of Flickr. I love that. I love the fact that I can take photos for a client at an event. And then what I'll do is I'll post them up, but only I'll make it so that that particular album is completely private. And the only people that can see it are people that I send an email to it. So, and my clients love that. They love, oh, no one can find this guy. And I said, no, it's completely unsearchable. So you can mark your stuff. If you want your stuff to be up there and safe and private, that's fine. But I found that it's my primary website is really not functioning well for me right now, and I need to redo it, and I need to have something available for people to look at as far as my overall work. So
do you use a backup service like Dropbox or anything like that?
My backup service is Flickr.
Really? So what about your Photoshop files and Illustrator files and stuff like that?
You can send those to Flickr too.
Really?
It's a graphic. It's a JPEG.
Well, yeah, the finished image, but not the PSD or.
You mean the PFDs? No, I do a hard copy backup of all those.
Oh, okay.
I don't trust cloud backup.
Oh, you don't trust it at all? Why is that?
Well, no. Let me put it this way. The cloud. I have iCloud right now, and it's been very problematic. It keeps disconnecting and reconnecting, and every time I have to reconnect with it, it's like an hour-long process. I'm frustrated with the cloud service that I currently have, and that has kind of poison pilled me on anything other than Flickr for the time being. Thinking I should have these boxes on a separate window. Yeah, I may want to do that from now on. So, Ian, what are you working on today? Are you working on your comic?
Yeah, I'm just doing another strip. My setup on my Patreon page is that I'm hoping to do 4 comics a month, which is, I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but I just I think a comic a week is fair, and to be honest, I want to get to the point where I can do like 2 or 3 comics a week, but
I'm totally there with you. I do the comic critic, and I'm lucky if I get 1 out a week.
Yeah. Well, that I'm glad to hear that because I always feel guilty about that. Like, I remember back when webcomics were really in their heyday, it was all about, you know, trying to do as many as you can. And I think some people kind of fell into this quantity over quality thing, which I just can't abide. Like I need to make sure it looks clean and polished. I mean, if you've been watching me, you've been seeing me redraw like hairlines this entire time because I'm trying to get the look right. And you just can't do that with, you know, within an hour. I remember hearing Scott Kurtz tell somebody that he does his comics within an hour or so. And I was like, oh God, what am I doing wrong? But anyway, my Patreon page is set up for either 4 strips a month or like a big kind of editorial long form comic a month. So to just kind of give me an opportunity to do some of the rant stuff that I like to do every once in a while. And my hope is that I can, you know, get a few patrons to kind of guilt me into really doing it as opposed to the big fat goose egg that's on there right now telling me that I don't need to worry about it as much. But I think guilt's probably going to be the best motivator for me. And just like, oh, I can't let my patrons down. I'm going to.
I speak from experience that guilt and narcissism are my main motivators.
Yeah.
It's sort of like there's times the knowledge that even one person is following regularly is enough for me to keep at it.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd like you to go into Epic Sketch Time, Ian, and post a link to your Patreon because I'd like to follow you on Patreon.
Oh, I'm not trying to guilt you into doing.
No, I mean,
I do it now.
No, I'm very curious because I follow some other people, and one guy stopped doing his Patreon, so you would easily fill the gap.
Oh, okay. I'm taking money from somebody else.
No,
hey, I'll take it.
No, he realized he wasn't producing content, and he felt guilty about taking people's money month after month without producing. So he said, "I'm going to stop my Patreon. If I start producing again, I'm going to." Please contact me. But
well, that's honest of him.
I was also getting
kind of said,
hey, where's the stuff you promised because you haven't posted anything in a month.
Yeah. Well, I think some patrons you can set it up so you only get paid if you create content, and that's kind of what I wanted to do with mine. So hopefully it doesn't just. I mean, it's gonna bill the second you log in. But monthly, it should only bill if I actually create 4 comics a month, and which I guess means if I do like 3.5, you're still getting the content and you don't have to pay for it. So maybe that's an opportunity to kind of make sure I don't do 4 comics a month. I didn't think this out clearly enough. I need to think more about it, but yeah, if either of you want to support me and guilt me into creating comics, I'll take it. I do love making comics. I just
will guilt you into drawing your hairline right the first time. How's that? Because one of the things I still draw my comic with pen and ink, and part of the reason I do that is so that I don't do what I'm doing here, which is draw a line. Oh, I don't like that. I don't like that. I'll redraw it like that.
Yeah. I know where you're at. I've considered that too. It's so much faster to do a digital.
I think what Scott Kurtz does is he's reached that stage where, you know what, I'm going to pretend it's ink. I'm just like,
oh yeah, he just changes his pencils to like ink.
No, I mean what I'm saying is that I think every illustrator needs to come and be very firm with themselves and saying, okay, I only have so much time. This is how much I'm going to tweak it. And he's really good at saying, okay, I worked enough on this particular aspect. I got to move forward.
Oh,
that's interesting. I think that's one reason I've been enjoying the sketch challenges so much is that you're forced to do a lot of that.
Yeah, I mean, like even right now, like my lines aren't as straight as I'd like them to be for this cell phone that I'm drawing. And so like in my head, I'm like, well, I can create a ruler in Clip Studio and make this like look really great. But the mere fact that we're having this conversation is like, do I need to, Ian? There's a little mark on my shoulder saying, no, maybe just save that for something else.
My wife is always telling me that I'm doing too much.
Yeah.
And ever since I started following her advice and doing less, I've gotten more work.
Yeah.
So
that's, that's one thing I've learned to walk away with more, is reminding myself that the client, or more accurately, most of the clients are not artists.
Yeah.
I frequently find myself trying to find the fine line of how much of that is a useful truism and how much of that is a license to do half-assed work.
Now, I don't think I'm a very good caricaturist, but I draw a picture of my client like this, and I'm thinking, I could make that look better, but no, they liked it. I said, no, it looks fine as it is. You just have to, trust that you're actually not a schlocky artist, and that it looks good. People liked, one of the reasons I started cartooning was because a friend of mine, Lloyd Dangle, was, making a wonderful living as a cartoonist, and I was acting more as an illustrator. I thought, you know what? If people like his cartoons, which were very loose, had a very loose indie look to them, and I thought, I bet I could draw loosely too, and let myself get away with things and not kill myself over it. Because you know me, I'm a very tight drawer anyway, and that's how I started doing the whole comic critic thing. Matter of fact, I was drawing it on an airplane. I couldn't pre-draw my lines, and now for my edges or anything, if I was on the computer doing it, I would have made sure that those lines were perfect on those frames. But now I hand draw everything, and I add in a little bit of warble to compensate for the fact that I'm not suffering turbulence.
Is that an exaggeration?
No, it's not. I actually do that. I make sure my hand, if it shakes, that's part of the turbulence. That's part of the look. And
oh God, I hate handshakes so much. Is my
embrace the handshake too.
I can't believe you made it your career. You're like, no, this needs to look like I'm in an airplane. Oh, no, it's not right.
Well, it also helps when most of the stuff that I do is on site and in front of people.
Sure.
And you're doing it with a Sharpie or a Neuland marker on the wall. There's no going back from that. You can't. The person's talking. You have 60 minutes. You gotta keep up with them. There's going to be a speaker right after you. There's nothing other than a rough draft vaguely in your head of what they may be talking about. Yeah, that's a lot of fun. You just got to roll with it and not think so highly of yourself that, oh, everything I have to do, it has to smell like rainbows and unicorns. So
now being a person on the outside, I mean I've seen who's that? He's I always mess up his name. I mean, I can't remember his name. He's a mad comic artist. He's just like the fastest cartoonist in the world. Draws in the borders. You guys know what?
Yes, Sergio Arjonas.
Yeah. So Sergio, I've gone to Comic-Con. I've seen him do like just the drawings like live, and they're just always beautiful, right? Like, and he just knocks them out. And when I see like live drawing and there's just never any like noticeable mistake, or if there is, it's never anything I've noticed. I've always just kind of said, well, that comes from experience, right? That comes from somebody who's taken the time to make sure they know how to do it right. And now their hand and everything is just the way it needs to be. And, maybe one day I'll be able to do that. But until then, I need to work on it.
Well, no, I think you have the wrong attitude there. Until then, I need to work on it. No, you're working on it now.
Yeah.
Like I have a friend named Mark Brill, and he used to take up to 20 minutes to draw a person's caricature. But once I explained to him that he could make money at caricature gigs, and every time we were at a thing where we were doing free caricatures, I was telling him, draw faster, don't go back, draw faster. Now he can draw caricatures faster than me. He can crank out 20 caricatures in an hour, which is, I think, mind-boggling.
20 in an hour?
You have to. If you're doing a gig, okay, a typical caricature gig is $350 for the first hour, and then $150 for every hour after that. Now, I know other people that charge different rates. Like I charge more. I charge $350 for the first hour and $200 for every hour after that. Did I say $150 or did I say $350? I meant to say $350 for the first hour.
I thought I heard you say $150. So
I'm not taking notes, so it doesn't matter.
I don't
you could have said 1,000. It doesn't matter.
Say, oh, you said you do it for $150. I said, no, okay, it's $350 for the first hour and $200 for every hour after that. And the reason I do that is for my production work, I charge $200 an hour. I charge $200 an hour for my illustration work for full rate buyout. When I do one of my gigs, it's usually for a day rate of $2,000 for 10 hours. And, yeah, let me tell you, I love my job. I love it when I get to work and do it. And that's sort of like the starting point for graphic facilitators. I know other facilitators that are charging between $3,000 and $5,000 an hour.
Wow.
Well, a lot of them, what they're doing is more than graphic recording, where you're just listening and capturing. There's a lot of pre-work that goes in as well. And they're also running the facilitation. So when you're doing something like that, yeah, it takes more planning, and you need to use more tools other than, listen and draw. You have to engage and pull. I've done a lot of ideations where I've been part of the engage and pull, but I've also was part of a team, and I wasn't the key leader of a group. If I was doing a key leader of a group, I certainly would consider charging a larger fee. I think it's all based on the type of project you have lined up in front of you.
Oh, that's interesting. It's one of the reasons I've been doing a lot of zoo and public event sketching is as partially it's calisthenics. I going out of my way to do something that's not part of my comfort zone, and so the zoo is especially a good exercise because you technically don't know what animals look like. I mean, yes, of course you know what animals look like, but you aren't able to make educated guesses because you instinctively can do an educated guess. So it's like doing a still life that'll move. And now people watch me sketching and they're amazed how fast I'm knocking things out.
One of my friends, she talking about using your Instagram properly.
Yeah.
She decided to do a couple pet portraits, both of her pets and of one of her friend's pets. And she posted them on Instagram and immediately got a pet portrait gig. So I would say, if you're going to post, like back when I was trying to get my, at one time I had an art rep. Her name was Susan Trippy. And she says, Mark, you got a picture here of a cowboy with his shirt half torn off. I said, yeah. You want to be doing cowboy pictures? Well, no, not really. It's just whatever you draw, that's what people are going to call you up and ask you to do. If you're going to draw food, like another art rep, she said, I want you to draw a picture of food because she was, draw me a picture of a hamburger. So I drew her a picture of a hamburger and she looked at it. Nah, I can't sell this because my food skills weren't up there, But I think that, I think you getting what I'm saying is that if you're going to post something on Facebook and you want to draw like professionally and to get more work, it should reflect the type of work you want, like me posting sketch notes. I saw her pet portraits and I thought, oh, these are wonderful. Her name is Genevieve Schlemmer, and I'm trying to remember what she calls her. What does she call her Instagram page? She's got like these couple. She likes corgis. I'm wondering if that has something to do with the name of it. I'm terrible now. I can't even remember what her. I'll pause a moment and take a look on Facebook.
Yeah, but I know what you mean. This one reason that while I'm very happy with it, I'm very reluctant to put this in my portfolio.
Put that in your portfolio?
Yeah.
Do you have a portfolio website? I think I've only seen your Rhapsody stuff.
Do. It's here. For everybody who.
Well, you could type it in or whatever. Yes. I'll take a look at it.
So Genevieve Schlemmer's name. Maybe that's why she goes with a different studio name. Because let's face facts, Genevieve Schlemmer is a real. You get the spelling wrong on that really fast. By the way, her name is spelled Jennevieve, last name Schlemmer, and the name of her studio is Short Leg Studio. I knew it had something to do with corgis.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, the Genevieve threw me off more than the Schlemmer, because most of the people I know with that name spell it with a G.
She's one of the current leaders of CLAW, the Cartoonist League of Absurd Washingtonians.
Was it shortleashstudios.com?
Short Leg.
Oh, Short Leg.
Yeah, I should probably check my Instagram and see if what it is. I'm sure she'll pop right up.
Oh, it's just Short Leg Studio. No, I put plural.
Okay.
Oh, she posted one of your Return of Stickman.
She did?
Did I just create something there? She's taking credit for it too, Mark. Go get her. No, she put your name up there. It's a post from October.
Oh, hold on. I'm on the wrong Short Leg Studio. There's an Instagram called Short Leg Studio. Let me see if I...
Oh, I'm on shortlegstudio.com.
Oh, okay. Her Instagram is actually Genevieve Schlemmer. I'll have to go to oh yeah, this blue pug that she did is just fantastic. And then she did a neighbor's cat and some flowers. Oh,
that's odd. I got her right after I got her in 2-3 letters. It must be the degrees of separation.
Yeah, it must be because you and I follow each other.
Mm.
And she's a fantastic artist. So one of her clients that did the commission said, "Well, I'm familiar with your gouache," and Genevieve says, "Well, I've been painting in acrylic, so I want you to cover the cost of the acrylic paint." she's not charging nearly enough for some of her work. If you want to get a really good painting dirt cheap, hit her now, because she should be charging way more. Look at that pug illustration. It is completely marketable. And she did that with acrylic. But this other client said, "Oh, I know, I like your work in gouache. Do this in gouache." And then,
oh yeah, I like that cat.
yeah, the cat came out superb as well.
I'm looking at your portfolio, Bill. I don't know if that would be out of place, but
I could probably stick it in with the logos. I mean, it's my main concern is with my Illustrator skills, it took me twice as long as it should have. And because I'm perfectly competent with Illustrator and Vector to the point where if somebody like the person who I did that for asks me to do it, yes, I can do it. But I'll be blunt. My Illustrator skills can be charitably described as glorified tracing. So I need to really sit down and do a lot more images before I feel comfortable saying, yes, I'm an Illustrator. I'm an Illustrator artist.
Well, if we're taking the lessons from Mark, you should just pull the trigger and spin it.
When people say, "Oh, I shouldn't charge as much because I'm not that good," and I'm kind of going, "What are you trying to do? Climb up the ladder of your own business? You are your own business. Start at the top, charge the going rate, and it just drives me nuts that I'm not good enough attitude to be paid."
Yeah, well, I'm definitely beyond that. Like, I want to get paid, but
sorry. I'm more than happy to be a narcissistic twit about all my other stuff.
When I look at my portfolio, Bill and Mark, I mean, you guys are talking about like, oh, do you want to be known as this artist or that? Like, I think when the last time I had a portfolio review, like I was just like, I was talking to a sci-fi book rep, and I didn't have anything that was worth their interest at all. But the other problem is just like I have so much diversification. Like I have comics, I have illustration, I have portraiture, I have like just traditional painting, and I have design work. And I know that holds me back. Like somebody is just looking for somebody who's really good at specific things, especially if they're like an editor, right? Like they just want somebody who they can just open up a magazine and it's like, oh yeah, this is the guy who does things that way and specializes in this thing. But I always hated that. I mean, I just don't want to be pigeonholed into a specific thing because I do a lot of things.
Let me tell you because I was just like you, and I tried for 2 years to sell myself as a Renaissance guy, that I could do everything.
Mm-hmm.
The moment I stopped doing that and just focused on one thing and went for that particular look and put that in my book, it's all about being remembered. People would remember me for that look and then call me up and then hire me to do something completely different. If you are all over the place, you won't be remembered. You need to have a key look, promote that key look, and then people will find out that you can do other things.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I don't have my watercolors in my portfolio. Though I might consider putting a venue for them somewhere else.
Well, yeah, I definitely have. I haven't necessarily drank in the Kool-Aid, but I'm listening to the Gospel of Specialization. One of the Graphic Artist Guild presenters, Emily Ruth Cohen, she wrote a book called Brutally Honest, which I've been reading, and it talks about like creative industry business strategies and things like that. And specialization is definitely something that she recommends. And Yeah, I mean, I'm not excited to not be able to market myself as a painter and everything, but ultimately I need to just, if I'm going to make comics work for my business and everything else, I need to focus more on comics, which is another reason why I started the Patreon. Just to kind of push myself. Oh man, it's already that time, huh?
Wow.
Okay. Episode really did fly by fast.
Yeah.
We didn't even talk about, what I thought of Shazam this last week.
Yeah, no movie talk. Holy cow.
Thursday. I'll wait until then.
There was a new Ultraman animated series on Netflix that I kind of wanted to ask you guys about.
I am not going to watch Ultraman.
Okay, enough said.
Ultraman sort of came out when I first lived in Japan back in 1979, and I loathed it then, and I loathe it now. So.
It's one of those shows that I only saw about 10 minutes of when I was a kid because my mom was very good at controlling my media intake, so I pretty much only watched PBS until age 10. And so it was sort of one of those things that whether it was good or not, I was nostalgic about it because I never had the chance to see it.
I'm if I'm going to see a guy in a big rubber suit as big as a building, I want to see Godzilla.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. So before we cut off, what does everybody see what you all think of this?
I distracted by the clouds in the background.
Really? Huh.
It's everything else is just, line art and white, and then you have this texturing in the back that doesn't fit.
That better then?
Are you coloring it, Bill, or what's the deal?
Yeah, are you going to color it?
Oh, that would be pretty masochistic if I did. It's for Monday, but
then I would say don't put any clouds in the background, or simplify the clouds into just like a few lines, but otherwise leave it blank.
Okay.
Otherwise, bravo, man. This looks cool. I like how you got all the stuff going on in there.
Yeah. It's I've been doing a what is mostly a Mad Max spoof for the last week and a half, so this is the climax of that. Well,
gentlemen, it's been a good episode. I'm glad I was able to join you today.
Yeah.
I'm glad you were able to join us too. This has been another wonderful episode of Epic Sketch Time. I want to thank Ian and Bill for joining me today. If you'd like to join us next week, please go and subscribe to there's a subscription link below in the description, and you can sign up. We'll send out a notification reminder on that weekend if we're going to be having something. We typically don't do them on federal holidays, but other than that, gentlemen, I'll see you next week.
Okay.
All right. Take care, guys.
Yep, have a good one.